Hey guys, Ben Painting, and today we're back once again for another video, and this time we're at Buckmore Park for the 2025 Kart Race of Champions, which you can see Callum is really excited for. Now we're going to jump straight into footage here, so I hope you guys enjoy this one. If you do, then can you please leave a like on the video down below, because I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as it really does help me out. I'd like to say a massive thank you to everyone so far that has subscribed to me over this 3.5-year journey, as we've just hit 1,000 subscribers, which I couldn't thank you guys enough for. But without further ado, we're going to jump straight into the footage here, and what you are watching is our qualifying session in this format. So what we had is we had a qualifying session followed by 3 heats and a final. Our first heat was going to be determined by our qualifying time, and then our second and third heat were going to be randomly distributed, one with a front start and one with a back start. So we're going to see how we get on in qualifying and hope we can finish somewhere near the top. Now Buckmore is always a track that we've had a little bit of fun at. It's not ever been a track that's been super good for me, but we're going to see what we're able to do here as we hop into our qualifying session. Now actually what you are watching is our fastest lap of qualifying. It was in the 4th lap of qualifying, so it was quite early on, whilst we were in the tow of some of the other drivers who were actually having a little bit of a battle with one another. We're in the slipstream, however, and we're able to come across the line with a 50.738 second lap time, which was good enough for 4th place. We were actually in pole position at this point in the qualifying session, but unfortunately we were unable to improve, and that led to us dropping down to 4th place. So starting on the outside here, going into the first couple of corners, we do just hold our position. We're not able to get a jump on the driver up ahead of us, and instead we're just having to succumb to 4th position. The driver up ahead of us goes a little bit deep. We're looking for a switchback, but we're getting bundled all over the place, and this is where we then become collateral damage to the drivers behind. We just get absolutely shunted out of the way there by KROC Jansen, and Jack Goldsmith obviously wasn't happy either, as I believe he got pushed out the way. So we drop back to 6th place pretty early here, and we've lost a lot of time to the drivers that are up at the front, which is not really something I wanted to do. Jack Goldsmith goes for a nice move on KROC Jansen up ahead of us, and you can see here he's trying to gesture to work together to try and catch up. I wanted to try and tag onto the back here and do the same, but unfortunately we're just not able to hold that momentum coming back up the hill. Now you can see here how much time we're losing as we come onto the last stage of the lap, and how much time we've lost coming up the hill, which whilst I was sat in the car, it was quite soul destroying, as there wasn't really too much else I was able to do about that. So we're still sat down in 6th place, and we're having to go a little bit defensive here due to some of the other drivers behind us starting to get a bit aggressive, looking for moves as well. We've got Aiden Dancer there on our outside. We're just trying to hold that inside line to ensure that we preserve our position at the moment. So we are still down in 6th place. We're losing more and more time to the drivers up ahead, which was a bit frustrating, as they were all going to work together to create some sort of a gap to the other drivers that were behind me, and I knew with being at the front of the pack we were going to be under a little bit of pressure. So we're trying to be as smooth as possible coming down into paddock and then through Garda as well, just trying to do anything we can to work with the drivers behind to try and bridge that gap that we have managed to gain. But as we come back up the hill as well, I was just noticing that my car didn't really have that pull coming out of that last couple of corners, and we were just losing more and more time. So we come across the line with a 51.756, and as you can see we're still quite far behind. So we jump forward to the 5th lap here. The drivers up ahead are having a little bit of a battle with one another. Unfortunately we're just not really gaining any time despite them battling, and this is in fact our fastest lap of this first heat. So we're trying to hold as much momentum as we can. We're actually going to the middle of the track here to defend from the drivers behind still, so we're not able to carry the most optimal racing line through the first section of the track, but we are still trying to get our head down and see what we can do to catch up with some of the other drivers. So coming back down through the S's once again, really trying to throw the car in, hold that momentum, trying to get as close to each of the apexes as we possibly can, just to ensure that we can just minimise that track distance. We do miss the apex a little bit there coming through Garda, but we're still able to do quite well as we then come back up the hill and past Cafe Curve. So we're able to then get our head down. We are deploying human DRS at this point. Obviously you can't see it due to the camera angle, but we come across the line in this one with a 51.571, which is the fastest that we were able to achieve in this one. And then genuinely we just skipped to the end of the race, because this is all we did for the entirety of the rest of the heat. We just stayed quite tight, quite narrow, very defensive, just to ensure that we kept 6th position. We weren't really making any inroads to the drivers out ahead. I wasn't able to get any more out of this kart that I was using. I was about a second off the pace, which was a bit disappointing, but there wasn't really too much more I was able to do at this point. So you can see here we're coming back down the hill once again. We get a dive bomb there by Joe Van Leinhorst, and luckily we're able to get that switchback done correctly, and we're able to maintain our 6th position. Was a little bit wary here coming out of Garda that we didn't have quite enough momentum, but we're able to just get ourselves back up the hill and around Cafe Curve in 6th place. So we do finish this one 1/10 ahead of Joet, who finished behind us, and we come across the line in 6th place. So quite happy with this first heat. Obviously we did start in 4th and leaked a couple of positions off the start, but there wasn't really too much we could do as we were essentially just loaded out of the way and then wasn't able to find any more pace in our kart. But we do move into our 2nd heat, which was in fact our back heat. So here you can see we are starting in 18th position, I believe. As the graphic comes up on the screen, we are in fact in 18th, and we're just going to try and get our head down, make as many positions as we can, and hopefully finish up as high as we can. Obviously this heat is going to be the make or break for our whole weekend. Obviously we're at the back, we want to try and make up as many positions as we can just to ensure that we maximise our result when we get that front heat in the following day. Obviously this was our 2nd heat of the day. It was on the same day as qualifying on the 1st heat, so our 3rd heat and the final were on the 2nd day. So luckily for us, at the beginning of the race we're able to pick up a few free positions here as drivers are battling with one another. We're just able to just slot our way through, just pick our places where we can, and we've moved up from 18th to 14th in the first lap. And then once again we're even trying to make a little bit of a look up the inside of Andrew Hughes, who has managed to make his way past Aiden Dancer. So we've made 4 positions then into the first lap, which I was really happy with. I was hoping that we could sort of preserve this momentum as we move through the rest of the heat. Obviously we're going quite strong at this point, and obviously the more positions we're able to get early, the easier the heat's going to be. So we got the drivers going 3 wide into the first hairpin here. We're luckily able to just move ourselves back over to the outside line, which then turns into the inside line coming into the next few corners, and we're able to make another free position up into 13th place. Now this is where we stayed for the next lap until we're able to catch up with Max Inez, who has been overtaken by Aiden and Andrew as well. So we're able to just dive up the inside of him. We then get our elbows out here as we go into the next corner as well, just slotting ourselves up the inside of Andrew Hughes. So that's another 2 positions that we're able to make going into this lap. And now we're trying to get our head down and keep up with Aiden Dance if we can, as he was absolutely flying along in this heat as well. He started at the back near us. So we're coming down through the S section. Aiden goes for a huge move down the inside of 2 drivers. Luckily we're able to just avoid that. We hold our momentum. We get pushed onto the grass a little bit here. I thought we're going to keep our foot in. We're not going to lose out on that position. So we actually take another double overtake, moving us up into 9th place now behind Ben Johnson, who's up ahead of us. He's pretty quick at the track. So I knew that if we were able to keep up with him, if we're able to follow him, then we're going to be on for some pretty decent pace, and we're also going to be able to catch up with the guys up ahead of us. Now I believe the lap we are watching is in fact our fastest lap of this 2nd heat. Obviously our lap so far have been quite slow just due to being in tussling with other drivers, and I really wanted to try and get my head down on this lap and see what we could do, see if we could bridge that gap to Ben and also bridge that gap to the other drivers who are actually in the starting front pack up ahead of us. So if we could catch up to them and work with Ben for a little bit here, then we were going to be on for a very good result, especially starting from essentially 3rd from the back. So let's see what we can do here. We're coming into Garda once again, really throwing the kart in, getting on the power nice and early just to try and get the momentum at the kart as we come up through the Cafe Curve once again. We're ducking our head, trying to deploy as much human DRS as we can, and we come across the line on this lap with a 51.139. So not the fastest lap by any means, but it was one that I was pretty happy with, and it was allowing us, as you can see here, to bridge that gap nicely. Now this is the point in the heat where the whole weekend goes awry. We go for a big move down the inside of Ben, overcook it, and take out the driver up ahead of him. Now at the time I thought we just made some side-by-side contact, but if you notice on the left-hand side here, that driver is now just getting going again, which unfortunately was a huge wipeout. And you can see on the left-hand side here, we have in fact received a black flag, which means we have to complete a stop-go penalty in the pits. Unfortunately for me, I was completely blissfully unaware of this. I was so focused on trying to keep up with Ben at the time that I just didn't notice that we had a black flag. So we're moving along even more here, and finally on the left hand side we're getting flagged down. There's a coming board in bold yellow writing, so I knew at this point we really needed to get in. We'd obviously missed the other signals to get into the pits. Aiden is able to get down our inside as we are slightly distracted and bewildered by that large come inside, so we leap a position back down into 9th place here, and he makes the move stick on Ben Johnson as well. We look for a little bit of a move even though we know we're coming into the pits, and I think at this point I'd sort of lost my head. I was just trying to get back to the pits as quickly as possible. Wasn't too happy with the fact I'd received a black flag, so we sent a huge move up the inside of Ben Johnson here. Just going a bit deep wasn't the best move there, just running him off track, and he very rightly just goes diving back up our inside into Garda, which allows us to lose another 2 positions to the other drivers behind us, and this is when we then had to come in the pit. So very disappointed with myself in this one. Obviously just got a little bit too greedy, got a little bit too squirrely on the brakes, and this then led to us coming into the pits, getting a telling off. You can see we're leaking all our positions here. We're all the way back down. All the progress we've made in this heat is now gone. We're all the way back down in 20th position with only a couple of laps left to go as well, which honestly I was quite distraught beating up with that. I was in 2 minds whether to just come off at this point, because we were never going to catch up with the drivers up ahead. You can see that with our almost 1 minute 15 lap time, but I thought we'd stay out on the track, get our track time in. We had paid for it after all, and honestly we just trundled around. There wasn't really too much else to say about this one. We did finish in 20th, in last place, didn't improve on our lap times at all, but we do round out this second heat in 20th position, which obviously wasn't too happy. Then had to go back to the hotel and regroup for this one before coming back the next day for Heat 3. So in Heat 3 we came with a fresh mindset. I knew that we really had to go for it if we had any chance of salvaging any result from this day. So we get underway, and this time we were starting in 3rd place, so right near the front yet again. We have Alex Brazier up ahead of us and Sam Jewell as well. So I was hoping if we had a decent enough car we'd be able to make some moves stick, and we've been able to jet off into the distance. However, this is me, and life is never so simple. So we're stuck in behind Alex here at the beginning of the race, and he's covering the 2nd place position off very well. Wasn't able to make a move there into the 2nd hairpin at all. And as you can see, when we come down the hill, we are getting tremendously gapped already. So I knew after that little bit of a section, despite taking a very nice run down the S's, through paddock and then into Garda, I knew that as we came around and then back up the hill, this was going to once again be a bit of a struggle town heat. As you can see, we are tremendously losing more and more time as we get up past Cafe Curve and then going across the start finish line. Not really too much we're able to do, despite really trying and push our momentum through each of the corners and hopefully catch Alex napping up ahead of us. So again, we're coming into the 2nd corner here, just really trying to hit that apex, nail that momentum through the corner. The gap is open there. Probably should have gone for a move up the inside, but I wanted to try and preserve the sort of position that we had. We were putting a little bit of a gap to the drivers behind, but unfortunately we weren't really able to capitalise on it. So we stayed in behind him, and now we were hoping to try and catch back up through the latter stages of the lap. Once again, really throwing the kart in, coming down the hill and then back into Garda once again, just to ensure that we keep the momentum up in the car as much as possible. We're getting on the power very early, and we're really trying to push the momentum in the car, but as you can see, once again, we're just getting more and more frustrated in the car as we're losing a tremendous amount of time as we come back up the hill. So we come across the line with a 51.331, which obviously isn't the quickest of lap times. We drop forward another lap here, and we just get caught napping pretty easily here by Toby McAllister Brown, who's obviously a local to the track. He's been to the track quite a lot of times, and I knew that he was going to get past us with tremendous ease. And as we sort of look for a way back again, he covers it off quite well, and unfortunately we're just sat back down into 4th place. So we've now leaped a position, and as we come through, despite what I thought was taking more momentum, he says to work together, but he's already in another orbit by the time we come across the start finish line once again. So we're just losing so much time coming up the hill. It really was soul destroying us. There wasn't really too much we were able to do here. We're just sort of sat back behind the other drivers up ahead of us. We skip forward once again. We've been able to do a 51.023 at this point, which still is a little bit off the pace compared to most of the other drivers in the heat. I believe I was actually one of the slowest drivers on track at this point. So once again, we're coming up and around on this lap. I believe that this was in fact our fastest lap of this heat. So even though we're in clean air, we're really trying to chase down Alex Brazier, who's up ahead of us. We're just not really making any inroads, and we're just sort of situated in 4th place, just sat further back. We're not really catching up. We do take a whole lot of curb there on the left hand side coming down through the S's, and again as we come up into Garda, really trying to preserve that momentum as much as possible on the power before we even get back to the apex, just to try and eke any bit of power out of this car if we can. But unfortunately we're still just not gaining any time, despite this being a pretty decent lap, and we come across the line with a 50.898, which is actually our fastest lap so far, other than a lap we did in practice the previous day. So we're still sort of languishing back in 4th place. The guys up ahead were beginning to have a few battles with one another. Toby has been able to move himself up into 3rd place. first place, and Sam Jules being relegated back into third. He goes for a move up the inside of Alex Brazier, and I thought this was now going to be the time where I'd be able to catch them napping, trying to sort of set up some sort of outside move. We tried to go around the outside, but instead we have got F1 esports driver Thomas Ronhart, who has now come barreling down our inside. He once again says to work together, but as you can see, we're just losing more and more time to the drivers up ahead in that initial power phase in this car. It just didn't want to have any pickup. We weren't really able to have any acceleration. I thought about making a move up the inside here. He does leave the gap open, very inviting, but I decided to sort of stand off, hope that these guys have a bit of a battle, hold on momentum, and maybe have a bit of pace up the hill. But once again, you can see I'm so frustrated. I think I've just hit the car, and that's why the camera's just moved, because we're just losing time. There's just not anything we can do as we come up the hill. We get gapped tremendously, and this then leads us to move into our final lap here. There's nothing else really happened. We just sort of trundled around. Thomas then managed to move himself up into second, and obviously Toby had jetted off into first, and I believe Sam Jewell was in there as well in third place. So we're down in fifth place at the moment behind Alex Brazier, who are now really trying to make him go as defensive as possible. If I had any chance of getting past, I had to really compromise his exits coming out of the corners. So we're coming back down the hill once again, really trying to tuck in behind as much as we can, especially going into paddock, see if we could set up some sort of move going into Garda, but unfortunately we just lose the back end there, and it just kills all our momentum. There's not really anything we can do, and that just leads us to just being stuck behind at a fair distance. I knew as we came around Garda and then up the hill once again that we weren't really going to out-drag him coming up the straight, so we come around Cafe Curve once again to finish off our third and final heat in fifth place, but with a penalty up ahead of us. Thomas Ronhart actually gave himself a penalty, so not really too much to say about this one. We did finish in fourth place, so once again dropping back from where we started, which is never a good thing, but we do move into the final. So here we are then, we jump forward into our last race of the day, which was in fact in the C final, despite finishing in fourth place and sixth place and then 20th. Obviously our 20th position had completely ruined our whole weekend. But we do move into this one, and we're going to hope and see what we can do going into this one. Now, unfortunately, once again, there's just a whole mess going on here. Everyone's getting battered all over the place, and we're just sort of in the middle. It's just a bit of a crab bucket here at the beginning of the race. Everyone's jostling for positions, really trying to win the race on the first lap. I'm just trying to get in amongst it, and as we come back down through the S section here, we're able to pick up a couple of free positions. But it wasn't until I was turned face to face with Matt Ellis, where I had to really slam the brakes on to avoid him, where we just sort of got stuck in the pack once again. So we've got drivers going around our outside off track. We're able to make a move back up into 14th position, which is actually where we started the race. So even despite all this chaos, we hadn't actually lost or gained anything throughout this first lap. So we're back down in 14th place and hoping to get our head down and see what we can do. Now, the car I was using in this one, unfortunately I'd noticed in the last two finals, the D and the E final, had actually come last, second to last. It was right near the bottom. I believe Sam May then had it in the B final, and he finished dead last as well. So there was quite a few people who used this car, and it was genuinely terrible. It was absolutely awful. I didn't like it at all, couldn't gel with it, don't think anyone else gelled with it. It was just thoroughly undrivable. So unfortunately we're just trying to do the best we can in this one. We've leaked a couple of positions through being forced a little bit wide there into the first corner. We're dropped back down to 16th. We have absolutely none of it, pushing Toby Hazel through just to ensure he can get another position up, and we move ourselves into 15th. Unfortunately, we don't quite have the drive coming back up the hill. This then leaks us back to 17th and then consequently 18th behind Megan Quirk here. So we're just going backwards in this one. There's not really too much we're able to do. We skip forward because we're still down in 18th, and despite everyone having a massive tussle with one another, we're not really gaining any time until there's just a huge collision up ahead of us, which we're able to traverse quite well, going back from 18th all the way into 15th and then 14th once again. So back where we started once more. This is where we then stayed for a little bit more time throughout this final, but unfortunately you can see our lap times are abysmal. They're just not good at all. I wasn't able to get any speed off this car. We just get beaten to the apex there. We tried to keep our foot in there with Toby Hazel, but unfortunately we just run really wide. The car was really understeery, especially through the right-handers, and I was just really struggling. There wasn't really too much I could do. I was really trying to push the car as much as I could, but it just wasn't really going anywhere that I wanted it to, apart from backwards, and backwards quickly. So once again we jump forward. You can see our fastest fastest lap so far is a 51.349, so I was really struggling at this point. Once again, we're just sort of shuffled out of the way by Matt Ellis behind us, so he's able to make another position on us despite being taken out, so that really shows how little pace we have because we're just not able to do anything. He's able to breeze past us as if we're not even there, and then as we come back down the hill, you can see with the shadow on the right hand side, I'm really disgruntled with this kart. We're just losing time everywhere. There's not really anything we can do. You can see the gap has opened up to about 3 or 4 kart lengths already. We're really just trying to take any part of the track we can. I think we're picking up a couple of track limit warnings at this point just to try and keep ourselves in the hunt for just a race with someone, because we're just in a bit of no man's land at the moment. We're behind Matt here. We're even ducking our head. We're really trying to force the kart forward, but there's just not really anything we can do. We're just losing time on every straight, every corner, and you can see here, I believe we have got a track limit warning there on the left hand side. So we skip forward here once again where we find Toby Hazel has been taken out, or he spun himself out, I don't know which, and this is near the end of the race now, so I really wanted to give him a little bit of a race come the end of, well, the end of the final, just because I just wanted to have a little bit of fun. I was just sort of trundling around on my own doing 52-second lap times. I wasn't really able to find much pace at this kart, so we move ourselves back up into 16th place here. Toby's then looking to go around the outside into the second hairpin, or the second corner, sorry, the first hairpin, and lucky we're able to hold that position again. We're sort of sitting to the middle. It's not really in my nature to want to defend 16th position, but it was something I was having to do just because, as you can see on the screen, there's absolutely no one in sight of us. We were really struggling. There wasn't really anything we were able to do. So we come back down the hill here, and this is actually where we find out that Cameron Das has been taken out by another driver, and it's just caused a whole kerfuffle. So we're able to move ourselves up 2 positions, but Toby Hazel is able to capitalise on us almost daydreaming, looking at the incident. So we go back down into 15th place. So now overall in this final we have actually lost a position, which I didn't really want to happen. We've got a driver up ahead of us as well as we move into the last lap. So I was hoping now at this point that we'd be able to not only keep up with Toby, but maybe be able to catch this driver napping who's up ahead of us. Toby's really hunting for him as well, which was nice to see. So I can see here the driver up ahead is a little bit all over the place, and this is allowing Toby to really close up behind. He's then getting held up a little bit, which is allowing me to keep up. Unfortunately, as we come back down the hill, we're just losing all of those kart lengths. As we come back down the hill once again, the car had absolutely no power whatsoever. We're able to make it back through the corners as Toby goes for a big lunge into paddock, making the move on Mr. Tozier up ahead of us, and we are then able to capitalise on this as well, as he doesn't think we're behind him, and we're able to move ourselves back up into 14th place. So obviously this was the final lap. We did finish the C final in 14th place. There wasn't really anything else we were able to do, and this rendered us in 72nd out of, I don't know, 100 something, but that was also our fastest lap at the end of the race. But there wasn't really too much else we were able to do. Unfortunately, we just gave ourselves a little bit too much to do after that second heat where we got that penalty, and it just led to us finishing in last place. So unfortunately, once again at the Kart Race of Champions, we haven't really put on the best performance. Probably embarrassing ourselves a little bit at this one once again, but it was still a fun event. It was really nice to catch up with some of the other members of the Connecticut racing team. A big shout out to Ross Samwell, who obviously won the event overall. He absolutely smashed it, and also to Ross Honeyman and Hassan Zafar, who put on amazing shows in their respective A finals as well. However, this does in fact bring us to the end of the video, guys, so I hope you have enjoyed this one. If you have, can you please leave a like on the video down below, as I really do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as it really does help me out. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.